Good morning. How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Wow, I got an answer. That's a first. All right. Well, if you have a phone, remember to check into your app. You can give feedback to everyone after they're done presenting, so it's awesome, and we can see how many people are here. Does anyone know about the caffeinators? Nobody. Oh, a caffeinator knows about the caffeinators. Okay. Well, raise your hand if you are a caffeinator. Awesome. So for those of you who don't know, our caffeinators are just kind of responsible for our outreach and making sure people know about 1 Million Cups and come to 1 Million Cups. If you have any questions, you can reach out to them. Raise your hands one more time. Yep, these people right here. All right, so first of all, we are going to have Mike Meyer with Band of Angels, but before he gets started, I'm going to have the panelists introduce themselves.
Good morning, Lawrence Andre, consultant in the teaming and leadership space. In this room, I'm most passionate. I'm always looking at startup businesses through the lens of what their business model is and what the team is in place to grow that business.
Hi, and I'm Jill Meyer, and I'm with the Missouri Small Business Technology Development Center, and I'm also the program director for the Scale Up program, which we're going to talk about later, and you'll see this afternoon, and looking forward to helping businesses grow. Thanks.
All right, so let's give a big round of applause for Mike.
Good morning. Everybody hear me okay? Good. Anybody in here play a music instrument? Anybody wish they could play a music instrument? Anybody just like me can't imagine a world without it? Well, that's what was the foundation of kind of Band of Angels. So I'm going to warn you in advance, I'm a crier. So if I get choked up during the presentation, you'll just expect it. So basically, 7 years ago, I was approached to start a charity. And it had to do with my family. So this is my family. My sister Mitzi, brother Tom, dad Ted, mom Betty, and that's me down there at one of my first piano recitals when I was little. We have been in the music business in Kansas City for 51 years now. I was approached by Fox 4 about 7 years ago to start a community project. They were running a lot of stories on TV about arts being cut in the schools, and they wanted to do something about it, but they didn't really know how or what to do. So they asked me if I would come down and sit down and talk through some ideas. I had a little video problem here, so I'm going to switch over to our video real quick here. So this is a little bit about what we do, and then I'll finish telling the rest. So hopefully now you know why I'm a crier, because there's some faces up there that make you do that. So basically, I sat down with them and they said, hey, let's start a fund. If a school needs this, if they need band uniforms, they need sets for a musical, we'll just buy them for them. And I said, well, I think you've got a couple of great options there, but also a couple of problems. One, I don't think you realize how hard it's to be to collect the money. And two, I don't think you have any idea how expensive band uniforms are. But what we do know is that my family's been selling music instruments for 45 years in Kansas City. There's a lot of them in a closet somewhere doing nothing. We work with 60 school districts in about a 100-mile area around Kansas City. We have educational people that go into those schools every week, and they could help us connect those instruments under the bed to this student in financial need. And so that's kind of what we did. So the way the cycle works is Fox 4 gets on air. They get people to bring in the instruments. We identify on our side the students in need through the teachers, which is hopefully going to put more kids in education. About 5 years ago, we started another program called our Summer Music Camp Scholarship Program. To date, we've sent 170 kids that we've given instruments to, and a few that we haven't, to summer music camps at 10 different camps across Kansas, Missouri, as far away as New Jersey, believe it or not. So the whole goal in that was to send those kids out during the summer, keep educating them, keep their passion going with music. We would employ music teachers for the summer because we help keep the camps going, and then we send the kids back to school with a better education than they left with. If all that works, then we create another round of future music lovers and more donations. Fox 4's part is the mouthpiece. They get the word out. Those are events that you saw. Here's some stuff that we do with stuff that we couldn't use. We take all the instrument parts and pieces that we can't use. We partner with local artist groups like Hallmark to put on this charity art auction called Art That Blows. And so this is some of the stuff that I love when people laugh at that name because I was a little worried about it when I came up with it. And then another one, I want to introduce two people. Alyssa over here is the program coordinator. She helps connect the instruments with the kids from Meyer Music side. And then this is Christy Jurgensen, and she is with Hang-Ups Jewelry. We formed a partnership that actually came out of this room when they presented here. She said, we're always looking for cool stuff to make jewelry out of. And I said, well, I have the coolest stuff for you to make jewelry out of. Later, now, 5 years later, they've given back over $10,000 in revenue to Band of Angels. So it's been a really great partnership there. These are an example of our summer camp kids. These are the first two kids that we sent to camp as a trial 7 years ago. And this is where I get choked up. These are the kids this year. So very cool. The thing I love about this picture is not black, white, Asian, Native American. This is kids, this is humanity, and this is music. So this is really cool. This is our contact information, kind of where we're at right now. We've grown really fast. I really didn't start this thing expecting to create a whole second job for myself 7 years ago, but that's what's happened. And so volunteers, grants, I'm just like everybody else now who has a charity, and they're all fantastic. I have my hand out trying to get you to understand why my cause is important and want to connect with it. So that's basically it, and I thought I'd leave that up just for fun while we were talking.
I love. I do love that art. I could stare at that all day.
It's pretty cool.
Very cool stuff. Just shows what an entrepreneurial mindset can do when you start with an idea and a need, and you just kind of take it and build and build and build, and it's clear in your story that's where you're at. You know, Mike, we talked before your presentation, and you said something to me that really resonated. It's a simple idea, but I think we often overlook it. You said, ideas by themselves don't go anywhere. You know, there's lots of good ideas out there. You shared that in your story with Fox 4 and Meyer Music, this is kind of an odd duckling. Who would have ever thought to put these two together? Why did these two organizations come together to help make this idea go somewhere?
I think what I always look at is the win-win and building your network. I think that I knew Carrie Hibbler from Fox 4, and she's the other person I really want to acknowledge because she's really the person that got this whole ball rolling. I knew her for a long time working with a community project I did out in Overland Park called Jazz in the Woods. She, when she needed help, she knew my name and she made the phone call. It turned out, believe it or not, that she and I were both exchange students on the same exchange trip to Germany when we were 17. So we immediately had a connection. But the reason that this partnership works is because I think we both have the win-win in mind. They know that they can't really do what we do because they don't have, if a bunch of people show up at the school or at the station and drop off instruments, they can't do anything with them. This happened in Joplin where they had the big tornado and all these people flooded in all this stuff to Joplin to rebuild the music program. They had no money to fix any of it. So that that type of mindset has been really great. They know they're the mouthpiece, and they let us do the connection side, and it's really a win-win for both. So I'm always looking at, whenever we try and do any type of a partnership, the Hang-Ups partnership is another great example. What's the win-win for them? I'm giving them free parts and pieces off of instruments that we would not be able to use. The win for us is they're going to give us back 30% of everything that they sell that is that. And she, I think, brought some jewelry that she's going to pass around so you can kind of see what we do with that.
You know, I come here every week because I like to learn from the success stories, and there's certainly here a lesson for us to all to learn. And I'm reminded that, you know, we have individual limitations. We all do. Every single one of us in this room does, whether it's in the skills that we have or the capacity that we have to do the work or in our mindset, whatever it is, we all have limitations. And successful entrepreneurs, you're inspiring me to look at where I feel a limitation in my own endeavors and where can I find that partner who can overcome that that limitation. This is really the true partnership idea, isn't it? And you did this with your gala as well. You took the same mindset to make the gala as a fundraiser work. Can you share a little bit to us how you that mindset of partnering with other organizations allowed you to make the gala bigger than it was initially?
Sure. So obviously it would be a big mistake not to leverage the assets of Meyer Music, a 50-year-old company with a huge infrastructure to make this thing happen. We have a lot of relationships with schools. While I saw a lot of instruments and those people make those instruments, their target customer is the band and orchestra director in a school. So if I can find a way to connect those two people, that's a win-win. So what I did is I went back to those manufacturers and I said, hey, I want you to buy a table at my gala. Now, most people, when they raise money, they just want to get the donation. But I said, I don't want your donation. I want you to get on an airplane, and I want you to come to Kansas City, and I want you to sit at the table. And so what I'll do on my side is I will go find 4 band and orchestra directors that would love to come to a nice event, have a nice date night out with their family that they could probably never afford, and I'll set you at the table with them, and then you can build a relationship. So it was more than just, hey, give me your money, and I'll go do fun things with it. It was, give me some money, and let's make a connection, and let's let you have an opportunity now to build a relationship too. So that's worked really, really well. And the directors really appreciate it too, because it gives them a lot of opportunity to sit and learn more about the instruments that they're telling their kids to get. So it's really a win-win.
And congratulations. You made a tremendous impact in a really short period of time relative to the 51 years of Meyer Music and what you've been able to do with this in such a short period of time. Talk a little bit about the next phase, the vision for the next. If you said you had 60 school districts and the instrument, I can only go into my closet once and pull out here are my extra instruments, and then I'm no longer someone that can donate for. So how are you targeting more and more communities, more and more people to get those instruments in? And then how are you reaching out to the next phase of schools, band, orchestra directors in even further apart from Kansas City?
Sure. So a couple of things that we're doing. First of all, the instruments has been the least of the problem, believe it or not. Carrie asked me when we first started this, how many do you think we could get the first year if we had a really great year? And I said 50 would be a big year. We got 300. So all of a sudden, much like what happened in Joplin, have you ever seen that? There was a Super Bowl ad several years ago. It was right when the e-commerce thing started, and it was when they had a person there. They're all crowded around a computer, and they say, we're going live for our e-commerce sale in this. And they click it, and the first bell goes ding, and order number 1. And they're like, hooray! And they go ding, ah! And then it goes ring, and they're like, holy crap, what do we do now? And that's kind of what happened to us. I was keeping track of this on a spreadsheet, and it absolutely blew up. So now we've gotten about 3,000 instruments in, believe it or not. About 60% of what we get doesn't work or can't necessarily be used, but we found alternate uses for it. So I think the next phase for me is to really work more towards the scholarships of the students. Each year we put a group of students in the pipeline at 5th grade, and then they work their way up to high school. And the whole idea behind Band of Angels was not just to give the kid an instrument, but to give the kid an instrument and then give them opportunities and surround them with those opportunities all the way to high school to maybe give them a path to college that they didn't think they had before. But worst case scenario is they could go sit on the plaza, put out a hat, and get their clarinet out and feed themselves. And so, as crazy as that sounds, it's totally, or play in a bar somewhere or whatever, however you're going to do it. it's great. So we are now moving into the phase of our first group of kids that started at 5th grade are now exiting high school this year. So we've already had 5 that have said that they are going on to college to study music, which is a huge win. So we're now wanting to move into the scholarships for college. And so now the big push is probably for grant funding, because that is going to be beyond what we could sustain. Although the community has been way more connected to this than I would have ever thought in my life. So.
Has there been any thought about moving further downstream before 5th grade, so that by the time, Has there been any thought about moving further downstream before 5th grade, so by the time 5th grade, when they come and do here are all the instruments you can play, and let me tell you about it, that those children that thought perhaps I'll never be able to do that, it's not something that I can even think about, so they just kind of dismiss even the opportunity, that they're targeting a little earlier on, and expanding downstream rather than just expanding up at the college level, but getting them in sooner and earlier.
Yeah, we actually are doing that. So we have been partnering with several organizations around town doing what we call instrument petting zoos. It's been really awesome because we can take the instruments that have been donated to Band of Angels and use those to, which is always tough from the music store standpoint to do. Here, let me send my nice stuff out for you to drop, scratch, and dent. And this has been nice because it gives us a set of instruments that the kids can really be free with, and we're not as worried about it. So we are doing that. We really don't have an age barrier to when we're going to start. You saw the one little girl with the violin. She was 3, and she's a Suzuki violin student at Ottawa University. And so we will be able to help and fund those no matter when. We are also working with a program in town called Sprouts, which is just starting. It was started in Omaha and very successful there. And it really targets, 3-year-olds plus to 3 to 6-year-olds in, mainly, they focus mainly on inner city, but 3 to 6-year-olds after school orchestra program to start. And then there's the Harmony Project over in KC that's doing more of an after school for the older kids. So we've kind of found our tentacles into those places too.
All right, we're going to open up to questions. If you have questions, please raise your hand and we'll come around to you.
All right, there's a question in the front.
Hi, nice job, nice presentation.
Thanks.
Couple quick questions. I'm curious, you said 60% of the instruments that come in are unusable. The 40%, do you have the staff right now where you can, is there a backlog of those? Can you repair all of those right now? And I guess the second question is, what are you going to use the donations and the grant money for? Is that part of it? You mentioned scholarships, but I'm curious if you have kind of an overall breakdown of that.
There is grant money used to fix some of these. So once again, going back to being able to leverage our assets, we have a network of contract repair technicians that work for us. And so we went to them and said, look, this is a charitable side of what you're going to do here. They have slow times during the year when they really don't have a lot of work. So what we do is we funnel this work in there during that time. They've agreed to do that work for 50% of what they would normally charge. So we both get, that goes back to the win-win there. It's been really good. It keeps them working during the year when they don't have a lot happening. So, and then was there another question?
Give kind of a breakdown of where money coming in, grants, donations, where that's going to, you mentioned scholarships, but
Yeah.
kind of a high-level breakdown of where that funds go and what it goes on for.
Sure. The vast majority of that's going to the camp scholarships and will now go on to the college scholarships. I would say probably 10% maybe would go towards the repair of the instruments. We do have some infrastructure costs, like we had to go out and rent a storage space because just having a place to put this stuff all year round has been a challenge. We've dedicated a certain percentage of Meyer Music's area for it, but it became too much for that. Just like any organization, we have to do directors and officers and insurance and things like that, and if we're going to put on events, we have to do that type stuff. That's very, very low. We really are looking at trying to keep our expense ratio at about 25%, maybe 30%. And I think if you look across most organizations nationally, they're in the upper 30s to low 40s, So I really want to be a good steward with that money. I think the college scholarship is the logical place that the bulk of it will go to besides the camp scholarships. So I would say, 60%, 70% of it is going to go towards the scholarship stuff and fixing the instruments.
You mentioned in your presentation that it wasn't your goal, but you made yourself 2 full-time jobs. Can you talk about how you find balance in that, and just as an entrepreneur, how you find balance between what needs to be done for your business and your passions and the good you want to do in the world?
So I'm super lucky because my mom and dad, brother and sister have been very supportive of this. And it's kind of funny because when we first started this, I told Carrie at Fox, I said, okay, I'm interested, but I won't do this unless you come and tour our store and see what it's going to take to help make this happen, and also meet my family. So my family's been incredibly supportive of it during the time that we've been doing it. It is difficult to keep the balance. I'm very lucky in the sense that this has to do with what I really am doing anyway. So I can call a director. I was just in Lawrence to present a trombone on Monday night to a little boy named Samir and go to his concert. And certainly that never hurts for me to be seen at the concert, you know, with the director there. So there's some overlap, which is good. The other thing is my kids are grown and out of the house now, and so I had to find something to do on my day off, which is today, because I work Saturdays. And so I basically stack up my Wednesdays with meetings of people and people I just want to meet, get in front of, spread the message, and try and do that. But I definitely think you do have to find that balance.
Question on your left.
Your slide indicated that you're looking for board members and a diversity of board members. Can you be more specific? What do you need in board members, and how are you going about finding them?
Sure. This is one of those things that's always difficult to say out loud, but you really have to say it out loud. We serve a big Hispanic community, and we don't have any Hispanic member on our board. And they're very, very hard to find, board members of the diversity. I mean, from a person who lives in Overland Park, I obviously am surrounded by a lot of people that I like and know, but we're all kind of similar. And so I've really worked hard to do that. So we do have 2 African-American members. We have a Japanese-American member. We have about 50-50 men to women, and we have an age range from 30 to 70. So we're really working hard to do that. But if anybody knows anybody in the Hispanic community who is looking for something like this and is connected in that community, I think that's a very big piece of voice that we need to hear. So I've not been shy about telling people and going to somebody and saying, I'm here talking to you because you are Hispanic. I need you to help me see what the Hispanic community sees. I don't see that. You do see that. So I think sometimes we're afraid to say stuff like that out loud because we're going to offend people or anything like that. But the reality is, if we don't ask and we don't tell them what the real expectation is, then we can't expect to get a great return out of what we need.
So in your presentation, you talked about the summer camps, and obviously you need teachers there. You haven't talked about that yet. So can you tell a little bit about how you find them, how you fund them, and whether you are able to exert some social forces for good that way as well?
Sure. So the camps are really put on typically by either a school district or a university. So we sent kids to Northwest Missouri State. We've sent kids to Mizzou before. We sent a bunch of kids to KU, Central Missouri. One of the reasons I started the camp scholarship thing in the first place is because I went to Central Missouri State, where I went to college and where I went to music camp as a kid. And I was talking with the band director there, and he was saying, I asked him how the camp was going. He said, well, it's getting really hard because kids have a lot more opportunities these days, and the school's raising the prices on the facilities, and it's hard to keep this camp going. So the light bulb went off my head, and I said, you know what, I have 250 kids I just gave an instrument to who could like nothing better than to be a week at camp. If I can just go raise the money, I can help keep that camp going. And so that was really my motivation for the scholarship program, not only to give these kids a week away from chaos and be able to surround them, but also to help keep the camp going. Then the camp goes and finds the teachers and the counselors. One thing that's been very important is I went to the camp guys, and they all thought I was asking for a discount on the camp. I said, no, I don't want a discount on the camp. I want to pay full price for the camp because I want the camp to keep going, right? So don't take advantage of me, obviously, but you know, if that kid paid $665, which is about what it costs to send a kid to summer music camp for a week and have him stay at the college, I want to pay that, and I'll go raise that money and make that happen. And so I think that the colleges now are starting to see this as a recruiting opportunity for them. The kid is seeing it as an opportunity like, wow, this is what it's like to live and be on a college campus. And so, once again, the win-win just keeps coming back.
In the second half, we're going to be speaking with a panel of entrepreneurs about scaling their business, but none of them are 50 years old. Can you tell us a little bit about having a lasting business?
Yeah. Be nice to your mother. That's the first thing. And a very thick skin. And I was on a panel here about 6 or 8 months ago, and the one piece of advice that I gave was given to me by a priest when I was going through marriage classes, and he said, you can never take it back. You can apologize until you're blue in the face, but you can never take it back. So before it exits your mouth and gets out into the ethos, you better be thinking about the fact that you can't ever draw that back in. And working in family business and doing those types of things, absolutely you have to exercise that daily, because they're the people you're most comfortable with, and what is the saying, the ones we hurt the most are the ones we love the most. You know, sometimes you can really say stuff that can change, but in business you really have to keep that separate. And so that would probably be my 50-year piece of advice, besides being nice to your mother. Are we almost out? Almost. Okay. I wanted to play the quick video at the end before we get done. So this is just kind of one last example of when I think two great relationships collide. You saw this girl in the slide where the first 2 kids we sent to camp. Her name is Jada. She's from here in Kansas City. When I was starting the gala, I wanted to show the people that were coming to this gala. It's a black tie thing, and we did a concert in my house, actually. And so I brought in a pianist from New York to perform in my house, and it was about 10 o'clock. We were getting ready to take him back to the hotel. Jada had come and performed 2 songs before he played. And so we were walking through the kitchen to leave, and he said, she runs up to him and she's like, I love the way you play. I just thought that was so amazing. And he said, well, that's very nice, thank you so much. She said, do you know the song Take the A Train? And he said, yeah, I know the song Take the A Train. She said, would you play that for me before you leave? Which is very ballsy of a kid to say, which I thought was kind of nice. But she didn't even think about it. And he goes, well, do you know it? And she goes, well, kinda. And he goes, well, let's go in here and play it together. So there was only 10 people left at the event at that point, and they got to see this. This is totally unrehearsed. They'd never met each other other than that night. And this is what happens when you can bring 2 people together and do something really fun. So let me... She's 15 when she did that. So I think she's 21 now. So I haven't seen her in a while, but would like to. So, you know, I would just tell anybody in the room, first of all, thank you for letting me be up here now for the second time and be on the panel and all the stuff. This is an incredible room. The partnerships with Hang Ups, with John from Social Heart, with all the different people that I met here have been what's really made this happen. And so I just want to tell the community thank you for that too, because it's important and we should keep doing it.
All right, thanks very much, Mike. Big round of applause. All right, it's everybody's favorite time of the week. It's time for Mug Club. If you've been to 1 million cups at least 10 times, please raise your hands. I've got a few. If you do not have one of these, please keep your hand up. Got a couple on the side. Nicole gets to pick.
All right, so tell us why you come to 1 million cups and what your name is.
My name is Ross Quinn, and I just started a new job where this is a large part of what I do. I work with Jill Meyer at Scale Up, and we'll be help facilitating these events. And yeah, I really want to get a perspective on kind of what entrepreneurs in this ecosystem do and what they have to offer and say and what they need help with.
Well, thanks for coming.
All right, and here at 1 Million Cups, we enjoy supporting all types of entrepreneurs, businesses of, I guess, any stage. So we have some that are looking to scale up, some to have Kyle tell you more about it.
Excellent. We're going to have a panel of entrepreneurs who have gone through the Scale Up KC program. So let's have a very warm welcome for Raj Nair with Yoda Bites, Brandon Odell with Friends That Cook, and Kathy Gates with the Running Well store. Let's just start off. Can you tell us more about your business and what stage you're at currently?
My name is Raj Nair. I'm the managing partner and founder of a company called Yoda Bites Consulting. What we do is we do big data analytics. We help customers and clients and businesses discover hidden stories in their data, stories that can change business outcomes for them. So we do strategic consulting, we do solution building, and we also manage infrastructure for customers for whom we stand up analytic infrastructure. We've been in business for about 3 years, and just this year we got into scale up to understand how to scale a business. So we are in that phase where we've decided to grow the company to a brand, and trying to help get to the next level. So that's the kind of stage that we are at.
Hi, my name is Brandon Odell. I own Friend That Cooks Personal Chef Service. We do in-home weekly meal prep. We send chefs to people's homes on a weekly basis to plan menus for the week, shop, cook, clean up, and stock their fridge with food to reheat all week. So we've been in business for 10 years, and I was somebody that originally struggled with growth over the first few years because I started the business with $225 and a bunch of crappy yard signs. And by the time I made it to scale up, we had started to gain money for marketing, and we had the ability to start growing more. So I wanted to be part of a program that helped me learn how to prepare for that growth, how to build the infrastructure for that growth, how to focus my efforts better to grow as fast as possible. So now this year we are clawing at the $1 million mark for 2017. We begin 2018 on a $1.4 million pace. So I'm not sure, I don't remember from my scale-up training what the official stage would be that we'd be in, but our sales pace, we're trying to get back to 100% per year growth. So we've got our systems figured out, and we're really just focusing on feeding it. So whatever stage that is, that's where we are.
Retail, 100% growth is crazy. My name is Kathy Gates. I own the Running Well store. We specialize in doing a stride analysis to match you in the right footwear for you, which obviously works really well for runners because they're putting a lot of miles in their shoes. But we say a mile in a shoe is a mile in the shoe, whether you're a nurse or in the service industry. The reason why we joined Scale Up is because I started the business, it started in 2006. I purchased it in 2013. I opened the second location in 2015. And when I was interviewing for Scale Up, I said, I really want to learn a lesson other than learning it the hard way. So now I can really take a look as we continue to grow and make sure that we're analyzing our business and making decisions based off of really smart tactics that are already out there.
So in the process of scaling your business over the past year, can you tell us about an obstacle that you've overcome?
Yeah, so for retail, especially specialty retail, our customers really like to see a familiar face in the store. So when I was working at the Berry Road store, they saw me 40 hours a week working and fitting shoes. So scaling and looking at the second location really made it difficult to pass things on to staff so that I could continue to grow the second location. So really looking at systems and making sure we had the right people in place to have the same values that I have and serve the customers the same way I would, I think was a huge obstacle for me.
So in the past year, the biggest obstacle that we've had to overcome is moving from a home-based business into an actual office. So in my career, I've worked in plenty of offices, but I've operated this business for 10 years now, and the first 9 years, the office was my home. It took a computer, an internet connection, and some tech know-how to market the business, and that's how I ran it. But I realized that in order to increase my growth, I needed to have a foundation, a base, and I needed to have some employees which were straight overhead, not just money-generating employees like our chefs that we send out. Those are employees that generate income for us, but I needed to take on some employees that didn't directly generate income, but more allowed everybody else to generate income faster. So we overcame that, and it was a big step for us.
Sure, I think being the youngest business on this panel, I still remember the challenge being just getting that first customer. Because if you're an entrepreneur that's just getting into the business, you're not really equipped to, like other companies are, like other service companies that have been in the business, to articulate your expertise and credibility in a way that your customer says, yeah, I want to work with you. But I think, luckily, being in the industry for so many years, I think one of the things that we learned well was to listen. So those listening skills helped a lot, and we were able to work with the customer, understand exactly what their problems were, and present to them a way of overcoming that problem. And I think we've stuck to that model since. So I think that was our biggest obstacle, and I think that is it's going to continue to be an obstacle, but I think we've kind of learned how to navigate that.
Kathy, in your answer, you hinted at the fact that as a brick and mortar business, you have to compete with people buying shoes online. Can you talk more about how you do that?
So it's definitely a challenge. So I think that in an Amazon, well, I don't think, I know, that in an Amazon world, in a retail business, you absolutely have to deliver superior customer service and product knowledge. And so for me, I know that in footwear, the return rate on Amazon and other footwear leaders is 30%. And in my store, our return rate is 4%. And we have a 30-day guarantee on our shoes because we get the person in the right shoe based off of the questions we ask them, knowing their goals, what their injuries are, and how to overcome them. And that's just something you cannot experience online. So we really focus on between our four walls and giving the absolute best customer service.
Brandon, you said your business has been open for 5 years?
10.
There we go, 10. Over that time, how has your business model evolved, and how did you go about making all of those pivotal decisions?
Well, the biggest way that it evolved is growing into new markets. It started with just me going into people's homes and cooking and charging an hourly rate that was reasonable and being just in one city. So I had to go from that to hiring other people and paying them to do the same thing, and still being able to pay them a good wage while having money left over at the end to actually operate and grow a business. So going into new markets was something that had to happen in order for me to grow at a pace that I wanted to grow at. I think I'm getting a little away from the question. So that was a big challenge, and now it's just had to become part of our ethos. It's what we do, and in the coming years, we'll keep going into new cities. And we go into one, and we hope for a break even for a full year, and then after that, we build it into a profitable piece of our company.
Raj, you are a big data consultant, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so people smarter than me know what that means, but can you describe that in a little bit more detail? And then tell us, I'm assuming it's a somewhat crowded field, what your competitive advantage is over your competitors.
Sure. So I'll try to do the 30-second. Don't clock me on that, but So when you, I take this example when I try to explain big data. Let's take the retail stores like Macy's or JCPenney's. Historically, you walk into that store. Let's say you see a rack of clothes. You pick up a pair of slacks or a shirt. You look at it. You put it back. That interaction is not being captured, right? Today you have online. All these companies have gone online, right? And everything you click on, every color you pick, everything that you move on from is actually recorded, right? So the physical world has transformed into bits and bytes world where everything is captured. So literally that is what big data is. The amount of data that's being generated for your business outside of your normal retail that most businesses are not utilizing today, right? Because if you can capture that data, there's a lot of things you can do with it. You can provide better customer service. You can improve your products, right? But it requires a different way of storing, capturing, and analyzing that data. So that kind of began what this whole big data journey has been for the last couple of years, if that makes sense. And then, yes, it's a crowded field. So our competitive, we categorize our competition into like 3 major buckets. One is like the traditional IT services companies that are trying to get into the big data business. The second are these large SIs like the IBMs, the Accentures of the world. And the third, actually, competitor for us is internal IT departments, who try to do things on their own. But I think our competitive advantage has been the depth and breadth of skills that we have been able to build because there's a huge skill shortage in this. You need really deep engineering and computer science and math skills to be able to compete in this world. And most of our competition I've seen has generally been providing bodies to customers. What we do is we bring expertise. And we have our own boot camp that we build internally for competence, which actually helps us provide a much higher quality service at a lower cost because we employ everybody that works on our projects. We use very little contractors. In fact, I would say 90% employees, 10% contractors.
Experts, what questions do you have for our panel?
Raj, well done on explaining big data. I love this example because, I think most of us could follow along with the example you gave and it made sense. And you did a beautiful job explaining it. And then at the end, it's like, I don't even know where to go next. I need you to help me take the next step if I am your target customer. So it's a beautiful sales posture to be in. Well done with that. You're welcome. Let's continue the theme that was started by Mike with kind of looking for win-win partnerships and team. This is something that's of interest to me. I'd be curious for each of you if we learn, and at least for me, I'm here to learn from you, to learn what has been successful or what wasn't successful and what to avoid doing. I'm wanting to see an example from each of you of where you were able to form a win-win partnership, either with an external, entity or with maybe hiring a key employee that took you to the next level, or perhaps you're at that stage right now where you're thinking through a decision you have to make for a partnership. If you could share an example that we could learn from, that'd be great. And you might want to ground it. And it would help if you grounded how many employees you currently have or how big your team is so we can get a flavor for your business.
Sure. So we currently we just hired our 32nd chef, and we have 3 employees in the office now. There's myself, a director of operations, and along with our new office came an admin assistant for me who has a mass media marketing degree, which is very helpful for what we do. And it's made it so we can reduce our marketing costs. But some of the key partnerships that we've engaged in, maybe the most key would be bringing on an online ad buying company. So one of our clients in Kansas City conveniently owns a company called Constant Flow Marketing. And he buys Facebook, Bing, and Google Ads, and then helps me set up marketing automations in our CRM software. So it's making it so, even though it was a big investment up front, bringing on a company that cost me a lot of money each month, every month it's eating up less and less of my revenue because the revenue's building and we're getting things automated. And for the first time in December, we actually shut off our ads in all 10 cities because we have a wait list everywhere. We're completely full. So now my focus has shifted to bringing on a hiring manager. That's my next position that we're bringing on. Another key partnership would be PayPal. We decided for payment processing to use PayPal to accept credit cards, and as it happens with the type of business that I have, we have never been able to get a bank to loan us money. Even though we have $27,000 a week in revenue, we can't get a loan because we don't have equipment. We don't own a building. I own $10,000 worth of computer and office stuff, and that's it. Not great collateral when you need a loan. So as it turns out, around about the time I was looking for a loan, I started getting ads from PayPal about their capital loans, and initially I thought the rate's going to be too high, I'm not going to look into it, so I let months go by and I didn't look into it, and then finally I did and found out that their capital loans were about 3% higher than what a traditional bank charges, and I could get one in about 10 minutes is what it took me to get $35,000 from PayPal. So that was a partnership that really worked out well for us.
So at the Running Well store, we have 3 full-time employees and about 20 part-time employees, because I know that was the part of the question. We ask new customers who come into the store, how did you hear about us? And 50% are referral-based. So our key partnerships are really people in the community who can help get the word out. And one of the biggest things that I learned from opening my Lee Summit location was that it takes time to build those relationships and get those referrals. So really, for me, working with the doctors and area influences, like there's actually a scaler, Bodies Racing, who helped us by hosting packet pickups in our store and really driving those referrals and driving foot traffic was the key for me.
Yeah, I didn't want to hog the mic, so I was trying to pass it around. But for us, the key partnerships has been around. There's a lot of vendors, tool vendors, and infrastructure vendors in the market. So we were able to establish some really strong strategic relationships with some of these leading vendors in the market. So that was one of them, because there's a lot of new players in this space that are different from the traditional infrastructure providers. And I think the second one is relationships with the universities, because we're trying to hire the best people. So we've kind of forged relationships with a few universities in the Kansas City area. Those are the 2 big things that we focused on.
So I have the pleasure of working with these guys as part of the Scale Up program for the past couple of years. And so I know a lot about your businesses. And I don't want to hog the mic from the audience that has questions, but I'll just ask one quick question. For all of you, the mind shift change as the entrepreneur, him or herself, from being a growth business to a scaling business. And it's a nuance, but it's a really important nuance that we talk a lot about in Scale Up, of going from a passion, whether that's data or food or running, to building a brand that has a legacy past yourself. So could you just talk for a quick second on your mind shift change of going from a growth company to a scaling company?
Sure, and I think that's a great point, because growth, to me, the scale part that I learned from Scale Up is that it's being able to sustain the growth, in a consistent way, right? Growth can happen and it can come down, but how do you keep repeating that? I mean, to me, that's the scale. So, and for us, it was all around setting the vision around where we want to be, and then deciding how to get there, and then kind of laying the roadmap of hitting that vision. So for us, that's kind of how we decided to take the information that we got in Scale Up and put an execution plan around building a vision and assessing where we are right now and how to get there and who we need to get there, and getting away from this, the entrepreneurs and partners, doing everything on their own, right? We have to be able to delegate. We have to be able to get the right people, invest in that people to hit that vision. So for us, that's what scaling meant.
Yeah, and I'd reiterate that. I mean, the biggest difference between being a growth business and a scaling business is shifting your passion from whatever your service or product is being your core passion to business being your core passion. I mean, it's impossible to scale if you're the one building your widget or providing the service, because you're only capable of doing so much. So I had to make sure that I had a way to completely provide all the services my company provides with my standards without doing it. So that's really the key to getting from one to the other. You have to step out of that operations role and build a system that operates the company while you push the company forward.
So I'm going to build on both of these. So the way to do that is a process. So, and I think this is going to be no matter what. So for me, again, customer service is key. It's the only way I'm going to survive in an Amazon world. And so how do I teach my staff to give the same kind of care that I would give, knowing that's keeping my lights on and the mortgage going? And the only way to do that is process. And so through Scale Up, we looked at things like a mission statement to make sure that we're all headed the same direction on the highway. And an example, an additional, going back to process, an additional example I can give is I was walking into the store and I heard a sales associate say something that wasn't really how I would have done it. And so instead of going in and interrupting them and taking over, I took a step back and said, okay, how do I teach this to the entire staff so that we all are on the same page? And so that way I know that these people are giving the same kind of customer knowledge and customer service I would give. And it's all in process and developing those processes.
We are going to turn it over to you guys for questions now, so please get your hands up and we will get a microphone to you. I see one in the back. While we get a mic out there, Kathy, yes or no question, are flip-flops bad for me?
It depends on your goals and what you want to achieve.
Yes or no?
We have a question in the back.
Good morning, Liz Rizzo with Clutch Studio. I hear you talking about a great way to build your people and your processes. And once you've got to that point, how have you guys marketed your businesses and branded your businesses? What successes and failures have you had there?
So there's a lot of lessons learned. There's two different things. So looking at big brand and looking at marketing is different. And I don't know if this is the same for them, but for me, I market a lot of different things. So we might be marketing shoes that are going out. We might be marketing new technology. But overall, those things, I want to elevate to us being the leader, the thought leader in the market. And so that is essentially what I want my brand to be, is us being the smartest when it comes to the technology and how it works for you. So marketing to me is more executional, but it needs to build up to the brand, which is what I want to stand for.
We have another question in the back.
Raj, how do you balance being the executive director of Ford along with a new startup? I'm only kidding. Raj Nair is the executive vice president of Ford.
Oh, I don't think that was that a question or no? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's the namesake. That is also the vice president of Ford, which I'm not, obviously. So.
I want to give Brandon and Raja a second answer the previous question about branding and marketing as well.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, for us, I think I learned that there is such a thing as marketing. that you need to market. You know, it's not like the customers are going to come and find you. So for me, what I've been doing right now is actually putting together my marketing strategy, which involves a lot of things that would portray us as a thought leader and the best company in the space to help you with data problems. So and it's for them, I think maybe Brandon and Kathy have already put that together and have a marketing. For me, it's just starting. I'm putting a plan together, and I realize that you have to do, for me, things like content marketing, webinars, seminars. So that's the kind of execution plan I've put together for the next year in 2018, and potentially, website, inbound marketing with SEO, and all that. So that's, for me, it's just in the works.
So marketing is something that is shifting my passion from cooking to business. That's maybe the biggest core of what my remaining job is inside the business, is making sure that the business's mission and message stay on point, and that everything conveys our actual mission, goes out and everything. So we've wasted a lot of money on marketing. I'm sure everybody's heard this said before, that 90% of what you spend on marketing is a waste of money. The 10% of what you spend brings in 90% of your business, and then the other 90% of your spending probably brings in 10% of the business. So the most important thing that we did is to find ways to measure everything that we did. At one point, I quit doing display ads altogether, no print ads. I have never found a return on investment on any ad that I put in a magazine, in a newspaper. None of that's ever delivered a customer for me in 10 years, other than one ad in St. Louis that I spent $600 on, gave me 2 new customers, and that was it. So we don't spend money on print ads. Most of our money goes to Facebook ads, Google ads, and Bing ads. If we were a business-to-business product, we would probably be spending it on LinkedIn. But to drive all that, the best thing we ever did for our marketing was to find the right CRM platform to run everything through, and it gave us the way forward to measure everything that we do. So every lead that comes in through Facebook, in our CM software, gets a tag. It goes into a sales pipeline in the software, so I can see where every single lead that came in came from, whether it came directly from our website, through an organic Google search, whether it came through a Google ad, a Bing ad, a Facebook ad. I know where it all came from, so I know where to spend my money. And working with a company to do my online ad buying has helped facilitate that. But really, the CRM software has organized everything, and that's has been the central key to me automating the marketing and measuring everything.
To take us home, I will invite Jill up to tell us more about the Scale Up KC program, which all of these awesome entrepreneurs have gone through.
Thanks, Kyle. So again, thank you to these guys talking a little bit about Scale Up as well as their own businesses. The Scale Up program is a 16-week program. We do 2 cohorts a year. In January, we will be starting our 7th cohort. So it will go January to May. These guys have been in different cohorts. These guys actually were in the same cohort previous. And as you've heard them say, we focus on growing the business and really looking at things like metrics, like processes, culture, team, and getting the entrepreneur, the small business owner, who is the roadblock typically at this stage, out of the way so the business can grow and they can actually run that business rather than trying to manage every aspect of it. So Kyle said I could have a quick shout out to tell you applications on the website. If you go and you're interested in the program, it says that they're due today. We're going to extend them to Friday for anybody coming in case anybody in here wants to do it. Please find me afterwards too if you have questions. Happy to do that. It is for businesses that are already past the startup stage, have to have a minimum of $150,000 in revenue as a bottom growth threshold, with a couple of employees and been in business a couple of years. And then after that, the trajectory is that you truly want to scale your business and see it as a brand and a legacy building business for the next future leaders of Kansas City. So thank you so much. Thanks for letting me talk about it.
All right, let's say thank you to all of our panelists today. And we hope to see you next week for the final 1 million cups of 2017 to see presentations from Jomper and King Fit. Have a great week, guys.